You guys loved my opinion so much on the ranking the Attack on Titan arcs that I thought it'd be a fun, heated, very engaging discussion to have on ranking the Akatsukis in terms of power from the beginning of Shippuden to the 5 Kage Summit arc. Get ready for the good like-dislike ratio and getting me called a dumbass for free.
Got him!
In this video, I'm talking about all the active members during this time frame, so Orochimaru won't be on this list. And I'm not including Rinnegan War Arc to Obito, just Toby from the 5 Kage Summit arc, where they're both obviously pretty broken. I'll start with the weakest and then work my way up to the strongest, which there are 10 members of this group. Honestly, the first 2 are no surprise, and the last 3 are no surprise. The fun in this discussion comes from the middle of the pack, from 8 to 4. There can be arguments made on these 5, and I'd probably agree. Lastly, I might make another video ranking my least favorite to favorite Akatsuki members in a separate video. Now let's get started. Number 10 is Zetsu. It's pretty obvious he would be the weakest, and he admits to not really being suited for battle, but rather recon work. He pretty much worked as Obito's eyes, while Obito worked in the shadows. Man was catching everyone in 4K. There's not much to talk about here, and we pretty much see him lose quick and easy to the Mizukage's aid. He knows his role in the organization, and he was the last one killed, part of Nagato's Akatsuki, so not bad for being the weakest. Also, props to a cool character design. Number 9 is Hidan.
Alright!
This was also pretty obvious. Honestly, he might just be a high-ranked Jonin. All the rest of the Akatsuki are Kage level, but Hidan's probably a high Jonin. The only thing he has going for him is if people have no clue about his power. But even if you don't know, you shouldn't just watch him and let him lick your blood, transform, and then make a cult symbol. It seems like a lengthy ritual, and nobody should be stupid enough to just sit there and watch. And one of his biggest weaknesses is that it's pretty hard for him to get blood. Luckily, he's skilled with his scythe, so he can fight somewhat long range, but that's about it. All he has going for him is that he's immortal, but once you cut off his head, he is done. And you can still cut off other limbs, which makes him even weaker than he already is. And to top it off, he's a dumbass, so that doesn't really help his case. If he had a power like Kakuzu, where he could stitch himself back up, he would still probably be number 9, but he'd be a lot stronger and somewhat closer to the rest of the pack. The fact that he can't fix himself back up makes him a very easy defeat. And at least, if he's going to be weak in overall power, he should at least have Shikamaru's IQ or Rock Lee's taijutsu. Plain simple, he's a dumbass with mediocre taijutsu. Man, why couldn't he at least learn the use of Fireball no Jutsu or something long-ranged? He makes for a great sidekick in battle due to not needing to hold back on, which is why Kakuzu and him work so well. But he's a weak solo character. A lot of characters on this list, if you took away one major thing from them, they'd still be strong. Kisame without the Samihara is still strong. Itachi without the Sharingan is still strong. Kakuzu without 5 hearts would still be strong. Sasori without the puppet of the former Kazekage would still be strong, and so on. Hidan without a scythe or immortality would just be a plumber, electrician, or an NBA player from the 1990s. Number 8 is Deidara. I bet a lot of you were thinking, why isn't Konan here? Or, Sasori lost to Sakura's useless ass and a grandma. Deidara stated that Sasori was stronger, and we all know he wanted to die, so we can debunk that. And Sasori has just as much explosive power as Deidara, and some type of immortality with being hard to kill. Sasori is a lot more intellectual than him, and has way more battle experience. Well, why not Konan? Konan as a kid had the weakness of water. Go figure, right? She lives in the village hidden in the goddamn rain, and that was her weakness. Well, she fixed her weakness, so that made her 10 times stronger. Her one main weakness with elements was oil, and the only relevant ninja that had that was Jiraiya, and he's dead. Rest in peace to an OG. Deidara is weak to strong lightning jutsu, and basically any relevant character that used lightning style had strong lightning jutsu. Deidara is weak against Sasuke, Kakashi, Killer Bee, Dawi, and so on. I will say, Deidara had stronger feats than Konan and Sasori by solo capturing the Three Tails and capturing Gaara in the sand, but he did take advantage of the village by using his nuke no jutsu as a decoy. So he does show signs of intelligence, but Sasori is out here thinking of chemical compounds in the middle of a fight. Sasori over here is arguing over equivalent exchange like he's an alchemist. Deidara does show a great deal of chakra and being able to use jutsu quick. Sai has to make doodles that can take a minute. Meanwhile, Deidara can put some clay in his mouth hands and is done in a second. It's basically like Sai's using an oven and Deidara is using a microwave. See the difference? Him and the rest of the Akatsuki on this list, from 8 to 4, are at lowest mid-powered Kage. It's a shame he fell for Sasuke's Genjutsu when the man trained hard to fight against it, since he lost to Itachi in a matter of seconds. What kind of Genjutsu training was he doing? Also, art is an explosion. Number 7 is Konan.
If I hadn't switched from flying to slipping past that explosion.
Yes, Konan beat Sasori in the video game to recruit him. I'm not sure how much I want to take out of that, but she is the wild card in this video. It's hard to rank her because she has so little to go off of. The only real feat we have of her is essentially making Obito have to activate Izanagi. The problem with this fight is that she had an ample amount of time to plan for this fight. She pulled a Moses and split the water in half and then added 1 billion paper bombs, but she had time to do this. In a one-on-one fight with someone on the spot, she isn't going to have time to make the ocean into a 30-minute 4th of July fireworks show. I'm impressed with her growth in overcoming her weakness of the water element. If Deidara would have overcome the lightning element, he would have jumped up 3 spots. I appreciate Konan because she's the only one self-made and without some BS. Kisame obtained the Samehada, Obito got the Mangekyo and hit the jackpot with Kamui, Nagato got Madara's eyes and was born into the Uzumaki, Deidara and Kakuzu stole the village's hidden techniques, and so on. Konan did show how strong she was by easily taking on the Aburame clan, but that was quick, it's just the Aburame clan. She got the smallest amount of screen time for showing off her powers, and she was just there to be Robin to Batman's pain. Honestly, I'd love to see what would happen if Tsunade and her had a battle, because I feel like Konan was a top 3 woman in the show, excluding Kaguya from the list. Also, I'll drop a picture of her original character arc. You're welcome, you simps. Number 6 is Sasori. Ah, yes, the first Akatsuki member to die, which, nonetheless, to Sakura and her grandma. Oh yeah, the first Akatsuki member to also die in the Great Ninja War arc, to Kankuro, Sai, and some filler people. Man, F filler people. All my homies hate filler people. Anyways, Sasori is mad strong and holds thousands of puppets at his disposal. The longer he's alive, the stronger he gets, since he keeps obtaining more puppets, which some are pretty strong, such as the former Kazekage. Having the borderline immortality really makes him a step stronger than Deidara and Konan. You will probably need to kill him a few times before you actually kill him, kind of like Kakuzu. And it can be hard to go after him since you're getting jumped by 1,000 puppets. And let's not forget the fact that Sasori himself is pretty strong, since he has some pretty powerful water and fire style scrolls. Man is Tenten and Kankuro combined on steroids. Let's not forget his analytical prowess and his ability to adapt mid-battle. Lastly, he has some poison on his side, and even a drop of poison is enough to end a battle. You saw what happened with Kankuro, and hell, Sakura only kept going after getting hit by poison because she had prep for the battle. The poison part is a really crucial part of his character. It makes any battle so much easier, as all he needs is just slightly a hit of poison to win. He went out down bad, and got revived to go out down catastrophic. But seeing 1,000 puppets, the Kazekage's disposal, the multiple elements he can use like Kakuzu, and his resilience makes for him being a strong opponent. Number 5 is Kakuzu. When I made this list, I made this on them fighting anyone on the spot with no prep. I didn't make this on which Akatsuki member can beat which, because some Akatsuki members might be a good matchup against some that were ranked higher. And this is the case here. I think Kakuzu would beat Kisame, but I think Kisame is just stronger overall. I think Kakuzu would beat Kisame due to having lightning style, which would be super effective against a predominant water style user. And Kisame thrives off of others' chakra, and Kakuzu doesn't have tailed beast chakra at his arsenal. And he has 5 lives, which might be a lot for Kisame to handle. Kisame and Kakuzu were hard to rank on who is higher, and this was the hardest part of the list, but I've come to terms with it. Also, let's not use Kakuzu fighting the first Hokage as an actual discussion point. You already know the first Hokage probably didn't even try, and he is so passive, he probably just let him go. Hashirama can sneeze and kill him in an instant. When Kakuzu said that he fought the first, it was good to hear, just so it would show how old he is, not necessarily how strong he is. But yes, like a lot of other Akatsuki members, it takes a lot to kill him since he has 5 lives and he can always stock up on more mid-fight. For some reason, they turned Kakuzu into a dumbass against Naruto, but he seems to be pretty smart as well. He got jumped by 6 Jonin and he fell for the same stupid-ass trick twice. He deserved to die after that one. The man can use all the elements, so he can easily exploit someone's elemental weakness. And he's probably one of the best in taijutsu in the Akatsuki. I'd say he's only below Itachi and Obito in terms of taijutsu, and that's just because they have the Sharingan that gives them an obvious advantage. The man has destructive power and can utilize all the elements and his hearts in a very strategic way. The spaghetti monster can be having 5 fights at once due to separating all 5 hearts, and he can fight close and long range due to phenomenal taijutsu and an arsenal of long-ranged moves. Long live the spaghetti monster. Number 4 is Kisame.
Water style! Water shock bomb jutsu! Such incredible power!
Ah, yes, the man who lost to Might Guy 3 times. Kisame without the Samehada is probably still stronger than Hinan, and is definitely a strong Jonin at that. I don't think he'd be Kage level, but once he obtained the sword, he went up to a high Kage level. The sword grants him chakra matching the levels of Naruto and Killer Bee. He gets stronger fighting stronger opponents. We saw many OP jutsu at his disposal being used. He has the jutsu when it rains, there are many sharks that eat all of your skin. He has the bubble that follows Kisame, so he can essentially drown you. He can summon an ocean and a million sharks. And he has the shark bomb jutsu that gets stronger and absorbs whatever jutsu you throw at it and reflects it back at you. Gaara was able to turn a forest into a desert, and Kisame can turn anywhere into an ocean with sharks. Being the tailless tailed beast is quite a nickname, and one deserving the number 4 spot. I think if he was stronger in taijutsu, that might help him a little. It would for sure make him the number 4 spot, but it wouldn't break him to the top 3. They are on a class of their own, and they were born to be the top 3. It's really crazy how strong his chakra reserves are, and he was very skilled with the Samehada. Killer Bee didn't use him to his fullest potential, and neither did the past user. Kisame and the Samehada are as strong a combo as Kakuzu and Hidan. Kisame was only at 50% power fighting Might Guy the second time, and he was still able to throw out Kage-level ninjutsu. Also, he went out as an OG. He said, snitches get stitches. Number 3 is Itachi.
You ran a Chidori through it.
Oh boy, this is where I get that good dislike-like ratio. He is levels ahead of the rest, but not top 2. Itachi just doesn't have the destructive force of the last 2. Itachi's known for the crazy genjutsu at his disposal, and he even has the Totsuka blade, which is great for instant death and sealing. He has the Susanoo, which is a strong offense and defense, which laughs at Gaara's ultimate defense. And he has the Amaterasu, which is broken beyond disbelief. Let's not forget the fact that he is the strongest in taijutsu in this group, the most analytical, and the most battle savvy. Man was in war at 5 years old and broke all the records one can do in being the youngest at. Sadly, ninja aids definitely weakened him, but man was still a baller. I feel like his greatest weakness is his underwhelming nuke-like levels of jutsu and his limited chakra reserves. He never obtained a perfect Susanoo, never obtained something like Kyurin, never obtained Kamui, and so on. The ninja aids really derailed his strength. Who knows what he would have been without ninja aids, but I'd rather go on what we know than rather what we can speculate. Poor man was screwed from the beginning when his biggest feat as a child prodigy was the Shuriken Jutsu. They just built him up to not be a Dragon Ball Z character with 20 nukes up his sleeve, and that's where the show kinda headed towards the end of Naruto Shippuden. Obito was 10 using Kamui, and Nagato was 15 summoning the Geto statue and using the Renegon. Itachi can figure out most jutsu in a matter of seconds of it being used, but it comes to a battle of attrition, he might be screwed, such as the battle with Sasuke, for example. His genjutsu is the strongest of people who are alive during the show, so that takes Shisui out of the conversation. His genjutsu is so strong that it works with someone making eye contact with him for just a split second. Very few can fight him without making eye contact with their opponent, except Might Guy. But he's obviously on a class of his own. He defeated Deidara and Kisame in a second due to them looking him in his eyes for just a split of a second. He put Kakashi through 1,000,000 years of pain in just a minute. If he had genjutsu that would work from far without even needing to make eye contact, a larger chakra reserve, and more explosive jutsu, he might be number 1. But sadly, he is the ninja version of Magic Johnson. Number 2 is Pain.
Now come to me, Six Tails.
Now listen, Pain is my favorite character in the show, but number 1 is broken without even having to try. Pain has so many feats that make him number 2. He killed Jiraiya, who is a legendary Sannin, defeated the Six Tails with ease, defeated Hanzo solo, killed Kakashi, defeated and recruited Kakazu and Orochimaru, nuked the Hidden Leaf, fought the Nine Tails and lived, and fought Sage Mode Naruto after nuking the leaf. Man has done plenty and has a large resume. Let's not forget that he's an Uzumaki, which makes him one of the strongest clans in the show, excluding the Uchiha, Hyuga, and Senju. They have large chakra reserves, so they don't even need a sword like Kisame, and they already have a strong will and heavy durability, so no need for immortality. They are just ninja crackheads. Pain is hard to fight with just using the Diva path, but then you have to fight all 6 paths. That's a lot to ask for. Each path is at least a high-ranked Jonin, and it's tough to fight all 6 at the same time. And at any moment, Pain can just nuke you with the almighty push, or just use planetary devastation. He also has no blind spots due to all 6 Pains having their eyes linked. They really did justice to his character, and even knowing all of his abilities doesn't mean much due to the sheer power and chakra he holds. He almost took Naruto and Killer Bee out in ease with just being reanimated. I don't know how Itachi would even stand a chance against him when genjutsu won't work when there are 6 dead bodies at Nagato's disposal. Amaterasu won't work due to the absorbing path, and the Susanoo will be blown away from an almighty push. Pain has an answer for most strategies and jutsu against him, and he can fight reckless due to the 6 bodies being under his control and under no harm. All he has to do is make sure the reviving path is fine, and then they just keep fighting for an eternity. Jiraiya beat 3 Pains, and then one path immediately revives all of them just to restart the battle. Pain basically beat the Six Tails without even moving. All he had to do was raise a hand, and he kept pushing and pulling him away. To sum up how strong Pain was, he fought the whole leaf and killed Kakashi in the midst of it, nuked the village, fought Sage Mode Naruto after not being able to use the Diva path and exhausting a lot of his chakra, fighting the Nine Tails, to then lastly fighting Naruto one last time when he was in Sage Mode. The man has as much chakra as Kisame, the immortality and ability to not die like Sasori, the sheer explosive ability of Kisame and Deidara, and the visual prowess of Itachi. Man is the jack of all pains. Number 1 is the man who started a war over a girl, Obito. Honestly, I feel Obito doesn't have the destructive force of a lot of the Akatsuki and doesn't have any nukes up his sleeve, but his one move is so broke that he doesn't need nukes. To simply put in perspective, Kakashi shows how strong Kamui is, and he can only do it 5 times during the war arc, and then be gassed. It also takes him a lot of time to do, and then leaves him completely defenseless. He can manage to warp objects that aren't him, but very limited, and takes a huge amount of chakra. Obito can do this to himself, but with little to no chakra needed, and he's doing this without even knowing. It's basically like Gaara's sand shield. Gaara doesn't exert chakra when his sand shield protects him, and Gaara isn't even doing a thing about it for it to protect him. It works on its own accord. Same as Obito's Kamui. Hell, he even tries to touch Rin's face after she dies, and he slips right past her. His version of Kamui is so broken that people don't even think he's fully alive. They think he's a ghost trying to become full again. Everyone constantly tries to figure out his abilities. First Sasuke, then the whole Leaf Squad, then Danzo's bodyguards, then the Kage, then Konan, then the Great Ninja Alliance, and then lastly Kakashi, which little did he know that they had the same eye. Pain eventually had all of his jutsus figured out and knew what each path did, but for Obito, it took 1,000,000 people to figure it out, and the only reason they could figure it out was because Kakashi was the only other person in the world with the same power. On top of being number 1 for just having a move that works without using chakra, skill, or awareness, he has more of the Sharingan's abilities at his disposal. Konan prepared for the battle and thought she knew his ability, but little did she know of the Izanagi. Danzo showed how strong the jutsu was, and Obito can easily just lose an eye during a battle and replace it with one of the millions of other Sharingans he has in his lab. You have to beat him twice in order to win, which is already a hard time beating him the first time. And he has an arm made out of the cells of the Senju, so he has a great chakra reserve and regenerative abilities. Let's not forget the fact that he's good in taijutsu, since he's going toe-to-toe with Kakashi in the space dimension without Kamui. All Obito needs to do to win is just make contact with you and it's over. He sends you into the space dimension, and then you never come back and starve to death. The end. The only people that can make it back from this is Kakashi and Ninja War Arc Sasuke. Minato might be able to if he leaves a kunai in the real world, and once he gets sucked back up, he just teleports to it. But I don't know how far of the reach the kunai needs to be. Obito was toying with the whole Leaf Squad, and they couldn't even manage to lay a scratch on him. They didn't even figure out what his jutsu was. Lastly, let's not forget that he knows genjutsu like the rest of the clan, and other long-range jutsu like hurling shuriken or fireballs. It took War Arc Kakashi, Naruto, Guy, and Killer Bee to even low a blow where his mask gets blown off. Minato was a great matchup for him since he had the speed to make Obito let his guard down so he can land a sneak attack on him. Obito is overall the strongest, and I'm pretty sure Pain and Itachi knew this. Let's close out this video with a recap of the order from weakest to strongest and final comments. The order from weakest to strongest was Zetsu, Hidan, Deidara, Konan, Sasori, Kakazu, Kisame, Itachi, Pain, and Obito. I feel like there won't be any arguments for my first 2 picks in order, and there won't be really any fights on the last 3, being the last 3, but maybe on changing the order. You already know Itachi fanboys somehow think he's stronger than Pain and Obito. Konan was my wildcard pick since we had the smallest amount of time to go off of her. And lastly, I really had to think on who's higher between Kisame and Kakazu since they were pretty close. Everyone excluding Hidan Zetsu or at worst mid-level Kage, but all pretty much high-level Kage and above. Thanks for watching the video, and I might follow up with a video on my least favorite to most favorite Akatsuki members. Please like and subscribe for more anime content.